tell us the facts here, because, you know, there's lots of concern about what migrants may add or detract from the economy.
Yes, I think, first of all, we should see what's happening in Calais in the overall picture. At the moment, we have a humanitarian crisis in southern European countries. We had 100,000 individuals arriving at the shores of Greece and Italy alone until the end of May. Mm-hmm. We had 180,000 applications for asylum within the European Union, 40% of that in Germany alone, and the UK received about 7,000.
7,000, so actually quite
7,000 of the 180,000. So it's actually a relatively small proportion which is getting to the UK and asking for asylum. That, of course, has to do with the UK being an island. And because the UK is an island, there are only certain gateways. And Calais Dover is one of these gateways. And that's why we see this concentration of individuals in Calais who try to come to the UK. But again, the numbers are relatively small. So the estimates of individuals sitting in Calais trying to get to the UK are between 2,000 and 3,000 at the moment. So we are not really having, in the European context, the magnitude of pressure some other countries, in particular the countries at the periphery of Europe, the southern periphery of Europe, are currently facing.
But at the same time, of course, we have seen an increase, as you're saying, overall in applications to Europe as a whole. It's just that we've got a small percentage of those.
That is very true.
But it is still an increase, of course. And what is the impact of that potentially on the UK economy?
Well, I mean, given that the numbers are relatively small, I don't think that the impact will be in any way dramatic. Asylum seekers are asking for asylum while they are in the process of their application being examined. They cannot work. They have to be idle. The moment the application is approved, they will be able to join the labour market. There are some delays. And if the application is rejected, they are asked to leave the country. But given that the numbers are relatively small, as I pointed out earlier, the impact on the British economy in any direction will be incredibly minimal.
Some people will be saying, of course, they're not allowed to work, but while such migrants are waiting to hear whether or not their application has been successful, they do get paid allowances by the government. Is that
absolutely? So that is a part of the Geneva Convention. And it was the result of the horrors we have seen in Europe, originating from Nazi Germany. And I am very proud to live in a part of the world where we are signatories of the Geneva Convention. And while these individuals are waiting for their applications to be approved, of course they need to be given some subsistence, otherwise they would simply die. But again, the amounts we are talking about here are, given the numbers we are seeing coming to the UK, really very small. And in particular, in comparison with the pressure some European countries are feeling at the moment.
And of course, a fair proportion of applicants we know of asylum seekers do get their applications approved. What happens then? You know, are people who were asylum seekers who've been granted leave to stay, are they net gainers to the UK economy, so to speak, in financial terms?
Well, that depends on the individual case. Many of those who come and make their way to Europe are, well, we say in academic language, selected. Not everybody takes the hardship, is crossing the Mediterranean and then making up the way to Europe. So we can expect many of these individuals being, well, possibly high achievers. But again, that has to be assessed on a case-by-case basis, and I cannot make any general statements how those who, say, over the last year attained refugee status in the UK are or will be doing in the UK economy. Perhaps I can tell you that in 10 years' time, when we have had the opportunity to look at some data and assess their careers in the UK.
But in very, very general terms, just briefly, if you will, it does seem to be the case, looking at your studies, that such migrants do actually contribute more to the economy than they take out.
So again, the migrants we have been looking at in much of our work have been migrants who either came from parts of European migrants, or migrants who came from outside Europe, but they came for work purposes, for economic reasons, and not for reasons of persecution, and therefore we are not refugees and asylum seekers.
Of course. It's been great to talk to you. Thanks for joining us here on Sky News tonight.
Very
Thank
welcome.
you.